Hi there. Welcome to Awaken Your Human Design. My name is Moni. I'm a 3-5 ego projector. Tonight I'll be hosting with Danny, a 2-4 sacral manifesting generator and our own personal human design guru. Moana will be returning for our next show in 2 weeks on May 1st with special guest Kip Winsett, a former student of Ra Uruhu, the founder of this beautiful system we're exploring together. Tonight we'll be discussing lunar nodes and their upcoming transit on May 10th. We'll be answering the questions: what are these celestial markers? How do they represent the road on our life's journey? And how can we best navigate these shifts moving forward together? Welcome, Danny. Nice to see you again.
God, it's nice to see you. This is great.
Thanks. I'm really excited.
Oh, yeah, I can't wait to do this. I've always wanted to do these, and I want to make sure we do one every time there's a node shift. It just seems so important because even the people that don't know human design can listen to what we're talking about.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah, I was
they'll
thinking
see,
this.
they'll
Oh,
see it in the world. That's all.
absolutely. Cool. You ready to do the presentation?
Well, yeah, I don't know. Is there anything else we should do to preface this? This is good stuff. For me, I've been reading, teaching, doing human design since 2008, the end of 2008 approximately. And I've come to know a lot about the nodes, just watching them move. I've even gone out into public and watched when the nodes change, on purpose, and I've seen their activity. It's amazing. Quick story, most notably, was I went to a casino when the 34 was either leaving or no, it was leaving. The 3420 was in the nodes. This was a year ago. So if you dial back here, you'll see the nodes were there, and maybe a little more. And the casino was buzzing, and then the moment came, and suddenly there was this slow down for about 2 seconds, and then there was about a second of dead silence, including the bells. And then it all started back up at about that amount of time. And I was like, so I can't wait to see this again because it keeps happening every time the nodes shift. The people in my office are different.
That's really fun. I really like that you found the exact time because I want to do
Yeah.
that and see if I could be somewhere semi-public to get a feel of that shift out of
Yes.
one and into the other.
Yeah. And the more we talk about it, the more we'll have a sense of what we're looking at,
Yeah.
it is the thing. So, Moni, let's tell people before we can get into this what the nodes are as it relates to, they're in a body graph. So obviously this is genetic. And what's your so far awareness of the nodes so far?
Yeah, so I figured we could that's the perfect time to jump into the presentation because I made
Sure.
little explanations. So I'm going to add this
Yeah.
onto the screen. So lunar nodes. So nodal position is determined by the moon's elliptical relation to the orbit of the Earth around the sun. The south node and north node are non-physical objects. They're positioned exactly opposite to one another.
Yep.
And then in terms of mandala movement around the wheel, the sun and earth move counterclockwise, representing the existential imprinting of life moment by moment in the now. The nodes move clockwise, directly connected to the precession of the equinoxes and connected to larger cycles themselves.
Yep. Yeah, it's beautiful to stop there for a second. What's connected to this outer procession, this is what keeps us. We've always had the sense we're in touch with the entire universe. It's through the direction that it's through the nodes that is substantially true. It keeps us aligned with the greater movement of everything, essentially.
Yeah, it's really neat, tuning into the nodes and preparing for this because I feel like the other planets, we can conceptualize. You can see the moon, you can see Jupiter out, we can have an idea of this. But the nodes, I always felt I never felt like anyone really explained them a way that I could understand. I knew they're these positions that are calculated, but what they actually mean. So it's actually fun of understanding how they're really the background of what we're experiencing in a moment.
These positions are calculated by way of a perpendicular to Earth and to the moon's actual gravitational core. So, while I never got into the science of the nodes, I don't recall Ra Uruhu talking about exactly how the nodes were chosen, but I've always come to realize or guess, I should say, that it's part of a gravitational calculation
Hmm.
that captures and directs the neutrino stream, therego affecting it.
Hmm.
So the river of the neutrino ocean pours through us, and as it pours through the nodes, those physical qualities of the nodes, even though they're theoretical points in space, seem to affect the neutrino stream, thereby having their unique imprint, like a planet affects the neutrino stream, having its unique imprint. Yep.
That's a really great description.
Yep.
All right, so purpose and role. So while the Sun Earth binary provides the archetype of your role, then you, as a unique, differentiated being operating correctly, can fulfill that role. The nodes lay the dynamic for how you're going to move from characteristic to role because they set the stage, providing the background environment in which you emerge. The fulfillment of your purpose is done on a specific stage through a specific continuity of scenes. And then, yeah.
Yep. No, this role and this movement of taking us from, the first 40 years and then the second 40 years and several other movements will show as we look at the body graphs.
Yeah, it's
Yep.
the setting of the stage that the nodes bring. So it's like in the great stage play of life, the nodes are the set dressing and the characters that are like in the background that we're going to be experiencing and how we're going to be seeing the environment that we're in.
Yeah, absolutely. What we see in the environment, the sense we get in this environment, as well as our movement, because the nodes hook us into the larger universe. At the same time, they also act as they sort of move us and direct us in a way. So they become our destiny. And it's both of them. We'll be looking at the conscious nodes because that's what's in the sky right now from
Mm-hmm.
the personality side. However, inside the body graph, it becomes a synthesis of both the unconscious and the conscious. And this destiny. So think about destiny for a minute, right? Every time we say the word destiny, it's like, what's my destiny? What's my fate? Oh, and then suddenly you land someplace. You landed some places, like you land at a job, you land in a home, you're buying a house, you find the perfect place. I hear it all the time with my customers in my mortgage business that they love the home and it fell through. And almost always there's this universal acceptance of it wasn't meant to be. And always the next one that comes along that they finally do get is always better. Always. And that's a trajectory. It feels like a destiny. But our nodes are pulling us along this trajectory. The one thing we can't do is read it and say, oh, you'll be here on Tuesday 4 years from now. We don't know that. That's fortune telling. We can see after we've gotten somewhere, or when you're on your way to a place, if you're aware of this, you can start to see, oh my God, I'm getting to where my nodes are. We should look at our nodes.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Cool. So setting the stage. To really understand your nodes is to recognize the world you are intended to deal with, the environment you're intended to deal with, the kind of people who are meant to be there in the background of your life, the kind of forces that are there to provide you with exactly the right connections, the right interaction, the right education, and the right whatever, because they belong in your scene. You have the opportunity to fulfill your purpose. The potential to fulfill your purpose has been seen against that background because it's in that background, it's in that environment that your purpose has to be achieved. And that's a quote from Raul Ruhu, the founder of the Human Design System.
I love his quotes too. They're always so right to the point. No, we were talking about this the other night, right? That no one else will really. I mean, no one else will do when it comes to you always got to go back to listen to Ra and then before you.
Oh yeah. I love
Yeah.
going back to the source. Like different people's interpretation of human design are always like fun and interesting in that outer authority kind of way. And then I always feel pulled back to Rob, like, okay, what is the precision of what he said and what did he mean? And then like
Right.
I can pull from that.
Right. Same here. Same here. I've synthesized so much out of what Ra has taught me, personally speaking, and it's incredible. Something to mention about this beautiful thing you just read, it's very true. You know who doesn't really get to experience that quite? People who haven't awakened to their design
Mm,
will always be experiencing this in an intermittent fashion, up and down, on and off, in various amounts of disorder, and really the not self people, which I am, I was dramatically,
yeah.
and everyone is just,
Oh yeah.
don't. It's not a big deal for anyone. It's like I'm not a not self. No, you are. You'll see. It's okay.
Yeah.
It doesn't even matter. Just recognize if you come in for a reading and you come in to start to know this knowledge, suddenly your trajectory through life will change. That's the point. And that's what do we call that? Because we know this is a scientific measure of what will happen in reality. Yet it does sound a little bit What's it sound like? Come up with a word for me, Moni.
Well, it sounds a little funny, I think, just because it's something that's non-tangible, and so we're learning to navigate how we quantify the intangible, but we know that something is there. Like, you
Right.
know when there's an energy, you know there's a vibe, you know when there's a creepy dude, and you're like, stay away from that. Like,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that's not nothing. There's something that our body is picking up on, some kind of knowledge that it was being picked up on. The same thing with love or hope or any of these like deep
I
human
think intuition.
experiences.
This
The
everyone's
intuition is
familiar
there.
with intuition, especially, I say especially moms. I don't know if that's
Yeah.
true, especially, but we
Oh, of
all are. I mean,
course.
it's
Yeah.
incredible. So that just that alone, what the hell is intuition?
Exactly.
This is
So
that.
it's learning how to quantify that intangible that we know is real and being willing to kind of jump into that. And that I think
Mm,
there's a lot of nervousness or skepticism or people that are like, I'm just going to go with what I know is real and tangible and in front of me, which is great. And like we need that. But that's why I think sometimes we can feel a little funny in how we can describe something because it's this energetic thing, but it's real and we're experimenting with it. And it's not just like a belief, it's not a morality. It's you start learning the different keynotes, you start learning what energies might be at play, and then you start learning how to notice them around you and you start kind of play with them and like, okay, well, what happens when I act like this? What happens when I respond in this way? And it feels like this fun little game that we get to start playing with in human design.
right, 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 exactly. So, yep, yep, said what I want to say.
Cool. All right. So, natal nodes. Within our personal human design charts, the nodal placement at our birth and 3 months prior to our birth. Our birth is shown on the right, the 3 months prior is shown on the left when you're looking at your human design chart. This is representing the environments we'll experience in our lives. The south node is the focus until the Uranus opposition around age 40, and then the north node after. And I like to see it as our personal act one and act two, and like the
Mm,
environment that we're going to be engaging in.
yeah, now you know why we were calling it destiny, because it really does end up being where you were going. So the south node, the horseshoe that's facing with the belly of the horseshoe down, um, that's the south node on both sides, and personality and design side. And this is the first 40 years. This literally, when we look at this becomes the theme of what we're going to do as we go through our maturity. We're going to count on these particular activities guiding emotion to where we're going to go. All the planets, you can count on them putting a thing in you that shows up as some kind of like an activity or a thing or a way. But the nodes do it specifically into hooking you onto a trajectory, much like the arm of a streetcar hooks onto the power line and then takes that streetcar in a direction. Our monopole hooks onto the line of trajectory of these nodes, north and south. And Shazam, we're moving. So when we read the two south nodes on the charts that we'll pull up, we'll see what does that look like. And the
Yeah,
same with the north when we get there.
absolutely. All right. So, within the collective experience, the current positions of the nodes represent the scene we're inhabiting together. Nodal cycle is approximately 18 years to return to the same gate, and the midpoint is around 9 years. And then the
Hmm.
nodes shift gate placement every 3 to 5 months.
Yep, yep. They just keep moving. And it's important to notice. So if anyone who knows a little bit about human design, when you're looking at the gates, they move through all 6 lines. They start at line 1 and they move up. Do, 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 do. And when you're looking at the nodes, they start at the 6th line and they move down line by line until they get to 1 and leave. So uh, if you know anything about our genome and about genetics, it's like a mixing pot. So those cool mixers that have 3 spinnies in them and a bowl that's always moving, and the spinnies move different directions, and they keep. And then it needs bread, let's say, or it needs a thing that you're about to put into an oven. Our genes are doing that. They're constantly mixing in opposite directions to guarantee difference. It
Mm,
guarantees us uniqueness and difference. And so that's one of the reasons they spin in opposite directions. It was just the forces were wise when they got this whole train rolling. I'll tell you that much. Glad they didn't leave it up to me to notate and document all of that.
oh, goodness. Yeah, no, there has to be something so much bigger than ourselves.
Yeah, yeah,
All
yeah.
right.
Amen.
So, the current south node is in gate 57. It's a splenic gate. It's the deepest theme of intuition in the charts. It's an extraordinary power of clarity with a theme of the fear of tomorrow. It's an unstable environment with a great deal of fear. Fear for survival, fear about what's going to happen tomorrow.
Mm, that's yep. Fear about tomorrow. It's an anxiety about tomorrow. It's also a depression, a melancholy about tomorrow. And it very often can manifest itself in, you know, I don't want tomorrow. I'm going to stay up all night. It's or just
Oh,
I
that's
don't want
interesting.
tomorrow. It's a nervousness. So they really all come into the same thing, fear of tomorrow. But one of them turns into a sadness because tomorrow doesn't even look so good, and it's always showing up in a pulse. So it's not there as a necessarily consistent thing. It shows up even if it's conscious. It's still showing up in what we call a pulse. And 57, as it says, our greatest gate of intuition. This is the gate of the right ear. We're listening. Everything we hear, and the spleen is also all of our senses. So look at everything out of the spleen like little fingers and noses and tongues and tasting and smelling and touching and hearing. And so this whole sound thing becomes huge. This vibration through us becomes huge. I have no doubt in my mind that 57 helped string the first lute, or the very first thing that someone twanged, put tension to, and said, "Oh my God, that's a note." This was many things, and I no doubt it was a 57 being as well. But yep, that's 57. Extraordinary clarity, the clarity to potentially, it gives us insight that almost makes us feel clairvoyant, because it's just so powerful. It's this clarity that feels like it can see beyond the pale. You got the veil in front of you, and somehow this seems to see beyond that. Not with anything that you can run to the racetrack with. Maybe you could, but mostly I wouldn't. It's just intuition, right? It's just intuition. It seems to see beyond and hear beyond, and so every little sound. You get a gate 57 in a divine center. That person hears everything, whether they
That's,
know it or not. Yeah.
that was great. That was a great description.
Mm. What's next one? 51.
51. Yeah, so the 51 is our current north node. 51 is an ego gate, the arousing, it's the gate of shock, the ability to respond to disorder and shock through recognition and adaptation. It's a stage of disorder and shock dealing with beings who are representatives of that disorder. So we're in an environment trying to deal with in disorder and shock. From the outside,
Mm.
from the outside, this may appear to be a disturbing framework. Remember, it is precisely the environment that's necessary for us to go through.
This gate of the warrior, the 51, the ancient I Ching they had a special name for it, a little extra. The I Ching, they always came up with their name, and a couple of gates they added a little extra. This one was, what was it? Shock and thunder over and under. And it was really thunder over and under, but shock and thunder over and under. And it was because we don't know when the thunder comes from 51.
Mm-hmm.
So what is this thing inside of us that everything that you just described, that was just described here, is so true? It's this like chaotic point in which an order comes by virtue of the warrior leaping. This is the home of our warrior spirit. It's a very religious isn't the right word, a sacred in a way, because the marriage between this and 25 on the other end it becomes the power of the priest and the warrior together. Like, think of the coolest movie with like Nicolas Cage and like really cool stuff. And he's got both of these. He was in a movie, Blaze or something like that, Johnny Blaze, right? And actually, yeah, he sort of played that part. And so the warrior that leaps, and the thing is, the warrior doesn't always know what it's leaping into. So everyone remember when we're describing this stuff, there's the conditionedness of our world, which very, low vibration in a sense, because they don't know yet. Not that they're not capable, it's not in them, it's just they don't know yet. And then there's the awake 51 who will leap into the things correct for them. If you don't know about this energy and it's in you, it's very often your friends and your mother will have told you, you can't just take those chances. You can't just, you're going to get hurt. And I asked you, didn't I? The first night we spoke, I was like, tell me, have you seen your share of blood
Oh yeah,
from
absolutely.
yourself and
Oh,
others?
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. So much 51. Like that's like old news. It's
Yep.
even it's
It's old news at 51, because the warrior, what must the warrior leap into? Every Hollywood movie has the warrior leap into the character of being a good guy. and it's always a pain in the ass, and it's not a 9 to 5 job for them, is it? Never. You know what I mean? They always almost die. um, they're exemplifying this shock and thunder over and under. So that's the 51, this beautiful warrior spirit that will leap into the void, meaning they don't even know. And that takes a certain, there's a bravery in this, but it's not the bravery that you build up. It's the bravery that's innate.
Hmm.
So this person might not even think they're very brave. They might always be the thing that feels like they're about to, cower, they're afraid or whatever. But then in a moment, the warrior spirit comes out. So, like all the gates in human design and all the gates in our body graph, it doesn't matter that it's not in your body graph. The warrior spirit is in the world.
Hmm.
You've lived with it. It has transited through your body. You have lived it out, many times, even if it's not in your body graph. And so even without a gate 51, you have leapt. Most of people watching have leapt into something. And
Absolutely.
so humanity is designed to leap into the unknown for the purpose of its own personal individual empowerment, um, to have something new under the sun, something greater than before, for the sake of the tribe, to say, come on and follow me to the promised land. Essentially, the warrior is looking for the priest. The warrior looks for the light in the promised land. And if you can strike a metaphor, and then 57, that's part of this whole thing. They're doing so with this hawk like penetrating awareness. The bald eagle sees its prey from 2 miles away, with its warrior spirit, it leaps into action. So that's what this is. And the 57 is guiding that. Our most aware gate in the whole body graph that gives us this extraordinary survival clarity. Don't do that. Do this always right now. And it's so incredible that every time you thought it was dumb luck, um, usually it's not. Sometimes it is, but mostly it's not. So that's what's in the sky right now. Hey, we just keynoted the nodes for tonight,
Uh-huh.
that are
That
ish.
are current. Yeah.
So what
That's
else about these things that like we're seeing in the world now and stuff like that are the 51 and the
It was really interesting because, like, I have this energy, I have the full channel. My
yep.
boyfriend has the 51. So, like, we're used to 51. And so he came home the other day and he's kind of like, is it weird that, like, that he's not feeling it so much, but like everyone else around him and, like, just driving, driving into the city or dealing with people or things happening and people getting so upset of these shocking things and that, like, it wasn't phasing him. And like I kind of had to explain, like, hey, well, you have this energy, I have this energy, we're super used to this energy. But
Mm,
everyone else, like, we get to see how everyone else is affected by this. So it's like I always find like traffic is like a really easy thing, living like, in a big city, you can really tell like, oh, like something extra is going on, like people are more agitated or something.
well, it is because what happens to the individual circuitry? Both these gates are individual circuitry. So all individual gates carry with them sadness and melancholy that then leads back to productivity and sort of the other side of that. And they carry, the spleen gate carries its fear. So people are walking around buzzing, afraid. Tomorrow looks grim. What shall I leap into? And that'll cause a lot of people to leap and do things and shock things in ways that are no good for them, that they didn't even want to do themselves. That
Mhm.
infamous, now that 57 is in everybody right now because it's still there, then technically everyone's got this sense that the spleen gives us of like, I knew it, I shouldn't have done that, that went too far, blah blah blah. So we've got a lot of second guessing in the world. At the same time, we've got a lot of certainty because the individual circuitry, these individual gates, they have a voice through 23 that says, I know. They have a voice that says, I want to contribute through 8. All the individual circuitry has a voice that says, I am now. It all has a voice that says, I know I can manifest this. I have power to can right now. So I just did 12, 8, 20, and 23 to get the individual voices of the throat.
Mhm.
Well, they're all vibrating with individuality. So you got one individual gate. These voices are things that can manifest themselves. And if you've got it in defined centers, they manifest themselves, period. They show up as a regular, consistent thing. So I forgot what my point was, but this stuff was really, yeah, this is really good.
Well, and it's really great too, like you bring up of like the way that, because this is the environment that we're perceiving and engaging in, like we can end up like making decisions that aren't really us. We can end up jumping into some situation that we shouldn't be jumping into and having bravery where maybe that's not our bravery to be having. And so it really
Mm,
like illustrates like the importance of recognizing and like understanding like, hey, it's like we could just like look at the human design and understand these nodes, then go, oh wow, there's going to be a lot of shocking stuff. There's going to be like uncertainty, this fear of tomorrow. Oh no. Oh, okay, how can I like understand that and ground myself in that? And then always, going back to strategy and authority, how can I make sure I'm making decisions as myself and what I know is my consistent energy and not getting lost in the shock, the confusion, the chaos, the fear of tomorrow? Because then I'll be
right.
making decisions that aren't mine and I'm going to end up in places that I'm not supposed to be in.
At all. And that shock and fear of tomorrow is so present out in the world today and the news cycles that are going on. It's incredible.
Yeah.
I would like to remind you that there was no talk of World War III fully until these nodes came into the sky. Some of the conflicts, like the big one over in Israel and several other things, these didn't spark up until we were approaching and or moving into the 51 and the 57.
Mhm.
Um, I know that the 51, since it's looking at, we have to look at the polarities. Every time we look at the nodes, every time we look at anything, look at all the 4 or 5 big, giant overriding aspects of these things, the circuitry, the polarity across the other way. So at 51, the warrior is looking to leap into the light. And so sometimes it will have a melancholy that it didn't leap enough. And that
Mhm.
might be true. Like when it's all said and done, they'll suddenly come back and recognize that I, I, I should have leapt more.
I
It's
could have
like when
been
you,
braver. I could have had more gall.
right, and we always find that in retrospect when functionally it's too late or it's the proper chance has passed. Never really too late, but when the best window, the
Hmm.
Overton window had passed.
Yeah.
So yep, so that's where we are now. This shocking, penetrating, intuitive, those of the humans that are looking to not have their spirit squashed. I mean, it's looking at the spirit of the self, and 57's looking at the now. um do you need to, we should have these charts up at this point, but
They're going to be at the end. So we can just go through and then we can dive back in.
I'll try and slow, yeah, let's do that.
We just get so excited. But yeah, so
It's,
let's pull back
yeah,
and then we can go deeper again.
we should like have a bullet point. It would be nice if we could do it, but we need to do this. But it'd be really nice if we could have like a bullet point, like 3 things, and we just look at it and then pull it away and we
Yeah.
reform from there. That would be
Well, we're
great.
constantly learning to do it better.
Yeah.
So basically, we're in the correct scene of our movie at any given moment, right? Purpose can only
Mm.
be fulfilled within the context of the environment of the life. They're made for each other. The moment one goes beyond the characteristics and one is able to operate correctly as oneself and begins to live out the true nature of one's role, then you discover this is the ideal environment because it is the environment that is there to nurture that perfection of you as a unique and differentiated being. It's all about acting correctly as yourself based on strategy and authority. Only then can you take advantage of such a challenging polarity.
It is challenging, all right. Yep. But they're both part of the same individual circuitry, so that at least they understand each other.
Absolutely. So the upcoming nodal shift is on May 10th. The south node is going to move into gate 48, which is splenic. It's a gate of depth. It's the well. It's a necessary and qualitative foundation, prerequisite to establish the common good. Logical
Mm.
process, ensuring there is a secure and viable future for all of us. It's foundational, coming up with solutions that can benefit humanity. The 48 can be one of the most frustrated gates. So the 18th gate, which is before it on its circuitry, the 18th gate sees what needs to be corrected, but then the 48 is responsible to actually find the solution. Yet in finding the solution, there's no easy ability to act since it's a splenic gate without a motor and it doesn't necessarily reach the throat.
Yeah, all true, and it can get very frustrated and bitter because it's in a projected channel. So and it can become so aware, so it can become hyper focused on its solution because that's its gig, that's its jam. If you see a 48 and they have a solution, listen to them. It doesn't mean take it. It just means, because you just never know what's going to come out.
Hear them out
It,
though.
if you can, if,
Yeah.
if if you can, just check it out because a solution of some sort is coming out of that person, especially if they have the whole channel. And again, it's looking at the gate of enthusiasm. That's its polarity. It's in the abstract understanding circuit. So it's always looking into tomorrow. So we went from a fear of tomorrow to I now need to see tomorrow. It's looking at tomorrow. I can't wait for tomorrow. Its solution's all about tomorrow. That's the solution. I'm going to make the trains run better. How will we know? Well, check in tomorrow. You'll see. That's the logical understanding collective circuitry. It needs to share that. So it gets bitter when it can't share it. I'm not listening. You're boring me. I don't want to hear it. That thing's going to get bitter.
Oh, it's projected channel.
Yeah, I get pissed when I have 16 on the other side. So when my enthusiasm goes unanswered, in my previous life, I would take that personally.
Mm-hmm.
In my now life, I just realized, damn, not everyone wants it. It's not the right timing, bud. So.
Absolutely. So with the South Node moving into gate 48, it's an environment where the common good is not established. It's dealing with the dilemma of the common good not being serviced, and that becomes the impetus to find purpose in that very environment. The environment of the common good is filled with lots of people who have opinions about how things can be better, how the common good and foundation for the common good can be established.
It's well put. That's beautiful. I wouldn't have thought to string all those beautiful words together that way.
I pulled everything from raw. So this is all like I only went through raw sources, specifically the 32 nodal environments, and then I collected a bunch of things and then I pieced them together in a way to make them flow really nicely. So this is all copy edited raw.
Do you have that recording of the 32 nodal environments?
Yes.
Oh God.
Yeah, I have like the 20 recordings of them all separately. So that one was in there, but it didn't have the intro. So I'm glad I actually had the book to go through the intro because that had a lot of good stuff.
Yep.
So yeah, that's the environment we're in.
Have book, will travel, right?
Always. So yeah, that's the 48. So like that's really interesting how it's phrasing it out. It's just like, okay, so this is the environment we're going to be in. This is what we're going to be seeing in our environment. And then how can we still find our purpose and like live in that environment? Right? It's like we can't change the environment we're in. This is where we're going to be living in. How can we best deal with it and go forward? Where like, hey, the common good is not being established and serviced. So like, how are we going to move through that?
Now think about the energy. So we're we're in a world filled with humans that are pouring out their energy into the world, right? Very few of the humans appear to want to control everything. I assume everyone watching this channel has probably seen that by now. I hope I'm not triggering anyone. And then there's the great mass of us that's like, hey, quit shutting down our farms, quit blowing up our stuff, quit, doing all the stuff with this, quit whatevering. You know what I mean? There's so much.
Mm-hmm.
There's a crushing energy coming down on the humans that aren't part of this cabal of whatever you want to call it, this power source structure that controls the money, basically, and controls the armies and creates the wars. And we seem to be being pushed by it to enslave ourselves more. So I can envision the solution finding, and don't what it talked about, where it said to have this mutual benefit into the future. That speaks to the sharing keynote of what collective circuitry needs to do. So moving about purpose. The spleen is very much about purpose, but 57 is far more about purpose than any of them, because it's in that first individual stream of intuition. So from 38 to 28 to 57 to 20. This is a stream of awareness through the spleen, and it does exactly what the channel the channel of finding purpose does. It's about finding purpose to life. What's the purpose? Everything in the stream speaks to that as an individual endeavor. So purpose fulfilled now, in the quarters of the wheel, it says purpose fulfilled through mind. However, in the movement of the nodes, I think we can reasonably say purpose fulfilled in the movement of the nodes from 57 to 48. What a beautiful piece of movement. Tells a story. So we're going to move from the shock and thunder and everyone's in motion and the warrior leaps and plenty of people are fatigued, so they're sitting it out. The warrior has leapt too much, to solution time. I can't let my purpose move away. The world's, pick other analogies. I'm using the analogy of the incredible conflict I've watched brew since the beginning of COVID. So I grant you it's slanted that way. but pick another analogy if you, and we'll do that as well. But I really am fairly well focused on that because it's what I see the most in my love of the humans on this planet. I want them to break free of the draconian money controllers, whoever they are. They ruin everything. They make nothing. We make it all. And I don't like them.
Yeah, we're getting there. It's getting better. We just
Yep.
have to go through some weird growing pains to get there.
Yep.
So,
21.
Yeah, so North Node is moving into 21. It's a powerful ego gate of control. In many ways, it's the focus for whether or not the tribe is going to succeed. At this very level of control, the 21 can ultimately find the expression for the tribe and its potential to manifest to the throat. It's a theme of justified and necessary use of power in overcoming deliberate and persistent interference.
Biting through. Ra called it, and I see it out there. Is 21 is, I mean, I hate that I'm going to say this, but it's the beginning of the police state. Essentially, 21 makes the cop. 21 also is the guard. 21 also is frustrated because it needs 45 to get to the throat. Because it's tribal, it absolutely must follow the tribal keynote of its support of the other. And when the 21 is sort of in control of its environment enough to where there's some peace in its heart, it will manifest all of that stuff. And it's very happy, and it knows how to control the resources. In a tribe, there's no end to hierarchies, right? I mean, there is no end to hierarchies.
What's the
It's
nature
just
of how our brains work? Like hierarchies are just into the system of like our brains work by delineating this is more important than that. And
there's a
then
hierarchy right there. Yep,
that's
you're
just in the
absolutely
very
right.
functioning of our brain. If our brains can't have a hierarchy of what's most important, like the brain is not working correctly, like you're going to have a lot of trouble. So it's like it's within our functioning, and then also within tribal circuitry is like you have a place within the tribe, but you better know your place within the tribe.
You better know your place. And the 21s are given a bad rap sometimes because their place in the tribe is supposed to be in some form of a type of a control. The
Mm-hmm.
controller is 21. The hunter and the huntress is the 21. You go out on a hunting party, someone's in control of that party or people die.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
You know,
somebody's got to be in charge. Someone's got to play dad.
yep, yep. Someone's got to play that part. What else is 21 interested in? It's interested very much in the colors of its tribe, the environment. This is where we are. Um, the way everything's laid out. This is the functionality. The food.
Mm-hmm.
The
Well, the
food. I should have.
distribution of resources, right? The 45 is how do we regulate the resources, and the 21 is like I need to give my resources to my people and make sure everyone has education and everyone has food and shelter, and we're all good and we're taken care of, at that tribal level. The
Well,
king and the queen, right?
absolutely. And the biggest resource that really is in control of is the people and the message helping to control that because the actual resources are also controlled through the 1949. The principles of the tribe won't allow the resources to go to a place no matter what resources 19 brings to it in the form of energy and power and adrenaline fuel to do the thing and a motor to stay and deal with the pressure and bring those resources. But the 21, it is all of that said here, absolutely, and the control of the people. So sometimes 21 can seem like controlling. And if you've got 21 that goes straight in the world, what we can see is all the 21s inside the oligarchy, they're going to start going crazy because the humans aren't cooperating, at least not in America and plenty of places, like us or whatever. If wherever there's enough guns, those folks aren't cooperating, and good. Um, so that's a fact, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Wherever there are no guns, those folks cooperate a lot more.
Yeah, of course.
Worth noticing.
Yeah.
So 21 feeling bitter about the solutions not coming through is going to lash out. That's not leaping like the warrior anymore. That's more like the Gestapo. Because if it's not my tribe, 21 can be cold. If it's a solution that it wants because it's 48, we already know collective circuitry and collective gates are cold by nature. They're not personal. They just want to share. up to and including let me share my death experience with you so I can watch you die. Some person might want to share that. That's crazy, but I'm just saying all it cares
The
about is sharing
extremes. Yeah, there's going to be the extremes of things.
the extremes. But let me share my bad idea with you. Let me share my good idea with you. All these things instead of when we're dealing as ourselves here on the ground. Hopefully, our 21 will show up in a way that says, "Let me share my joy of the love of our hope for our future." And do it that way, rather than let me just control you. But I can promise you this: the will of the people will seek to control the solutions that will make better tomorrow, so they can stop fearing tomorrow. They just got done with fearing tomorrow a moment ago. It gave them no purpose. Now they're going to drive themselves into the purpose through the finding of the solutions that they must share, and they're in control of what they're sharing. So listen the hell up, because I'm speaking. When the 21 spoke in the tribe, if it wasn't the king speaking in 45, because he delegated that, especially when the 21 spoke to its warriors, because the 21 is the controller of 51 in the Wa, boom, it spoke, people listened. It was shut the F up, dude. Like when that teacher comes in, one teacher or students did listen, It's like, that's 21. It's supposed to be that way. A nice, elegant 21. You can't tell.
Yeah, it's a natural leadership, the natural rulership.
Absolutely. What else on this slide?
So the environment in North Node 21, it's an environment of deliberate and persistent interference. Control is a theme with constant interference, all kinds of forces that making it exceedingly difficult to stay in control. This is the environment in which we have to find ourselves dealing with the background of deliberate and persistent interference.
There's always going to be interference. Primary reason number one is because everyone's body graph is filled with individual gates. That's half the interference. Even though 5120 in the Wa, but just for anyone who doesn't know, the Wa is a larger group. It's a transauric being. I won't go into it. And it ends at about 81 people.
Yeah. Group dynamics.
It's a giant group dynamic. Churches are a Wa. Big institutions are a Wa, W-A. And in the Wa, the channel 5125 serves the 2145.
That makes sense.
Yep, and that's okay. It's just, like I said, no end to hierarchies.
And just knowing where the places are, like everything has its place, and if we all kind of fit in, then like the electricity could move.
Yeah, and it's funny that you say that because it is true, and that I say no end to hierarchies, and those hierarchies are pliable because think about it. In the old days, and even now, if the priest and the warrior went to the king and the queen and the controller and they said, "I'll not fight for you," and the priest says, "I don't ordain this, and I will tell the people that this is not what God said," they did that. Then suddenly the hierarchy changed for a moment, and the king and the queen shut the F up, basically, and conceded.
Yeah, there's
quietly.
a negotiation. There's an energetic negotiation happening. Absolutely fascinating.
Right, because you can't. The king and the queen could not survive the warrior and the priest coming out to say, "Hey, no good." In the movies like Spartacus or wherever there's a hero in Roman times, the warrior and the priest would have been in that man or that woman. Xena, totally. She is a 5125. There was a priest in her always trying to do the right thing. There was a warrior for sure. She was a good. And Wonder Woman. Did you see any of the Wonder Woman movies?
I remember the show from way back. I haven't seen the recent ones, but I remember the show.
She had qualities of both of these channels, the 2151 and the you know what I mean, channel shock, channel of rulership.
2551, yeah.
Yep, and so they were great, by the way. It was the first movie I heard where they pointed out that the major force was going to be the love that drove everything. That was going to be the superpower that she gave herself.
Well, the nature of love, like I feel like love, we're like, oh, love, it's lovey, frilly. It's like this little like ruffles and butterflies. And it's like love is a force. Love is a powerful force. Love is like the mom pulling the car off of their child, like love is so, so powerful. Like love can get you through some crazy stuff. So understanding the nature of like the raw power to it.
It's a force that moves us, and all of the gates in human design, our whole body graph is endowed with what 25 asks it to endow itself with, the universal love of all things, and a love of your own spirit, of your own self, the spirit of the self.
Hmm.
And so here we are moving in that direction, and we're about to leave these nodes and move into the 2148. And so this ought to be real interesting.
Absolutely. So, conclusion. Oh, what was your
No,
question?
nothing. Go ahead.
Okay. um, Acceptance is about recognition that we don't see properly. Everything about this is how one sees. If one is not operating correctly, it can become overwhelming to have an environment where there's always interference, where there are always attempts to get in one's way, that one can turn on that and end up being very depressed, that the world is against us, and ultimately that we fall by the wayside rather than being able to operate correctly and fulfill our purpose in that environment. If one
Mm,
is operating correctly, that environment of potential interference doesn't necessarily mean it's a negative. It's the very thing necessary for the fulfillment of the process.
well put.
Yeah, Ra was really good at the words.
Yeah. Um, yeah, it's just a perfect conclusion. I mean, this is literally what we're moving into. So, can we go full screen for a moment?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Yeah. It seems to me that we're going to have to look at this, Moni, because what we want to do, the best place to see it is amongst the rest of the humans. You know what I mean? So wherever there's crowds of people is the best place to is a good place to see nodal shifts. Uh, I don't know how. When we were leaving the 2034, I knew exactly how to describe what that would look like. Everyone should basically stop being busy now for a moment. It's almost like a collective sigh. It's like, oh,
Oh, finally,
okay,
we can rest.
yeah. And so
Absolutely.
I'm just trying to think of what words to use to describe what'll happen. So we've got this shock and thunder, penetratingly aware now, seeking purpose more than anything, showing up in a creative pulse, dying to both of them, dying to empower the entire world with whatever it is they think their beauty is that they're looking at, whatever the warrior sees as its beauty. Um, we're moving from that. Which is sounds like a busy place, right? It sounds like, but it also sounds like
Intense.
it sounds like an intense feeling more
Hmm.
than like a busy action.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's just like, crazy stuff is happening. It's almost like the meme with the Chris Pratt with the dinosaurs, just like everything,
Yeah,
and you're
yeah,
trying
yeah.
to manage all of it.
Right. That's so funny. Yes. Um, and what else about this 51? Because technically speaking, as we leave the 5120, 5157, it's winding down now. It's in a first line. It'll be wound down real soon. Oh, Kitty. Oh, by the way, I gave Kitty a lion cut. I don't know if you guys can see it.
Oh,
It is
yes, we
so
can.
adorable.
Oh my goodness, it's like a little Simba.
Yeah, he's gonna hang here for a little bit because he's still little.
I
Um,
think everyone enjoys that perfectly fine.
what is his name's Willie? Hi, Willie.
Oh.
Um, so I forgot what I was gonna say. It's
Shifting the environment from like the shock and the unknown and that being like that feeling, and then how we're going to maybe like how can we maybe feel into the 48 and the 21 in the shifting environment.
well, first of all, when since we're talking about an ego gate, it's a hot gate, obviously. Comes from a motor, and 65% of the population doesn't have an ego
Yeah.
defined in their body graph. So people have had a growing sense I am worthy. I'm good enough. I can. Hell yeah. That's the ego, the robust ego talking. So as this gate leaves this guy, technically another ego gate's coming in. So I guess we're going to have more of the same.
It'll be interesting, like that different expression, because like the 51 is
Totally.
like it's that individual
Yep.
warrior, right? Where the 21 is that on that collective side. So I feel
Uh,
like,
y-
God.
yeah. And it feels collective because it is trying to speak to, it's very tribal though, and it's very up close and personal. I personally am in control of this stuff. You know, the collective just wants to share its stuff. You know, but that 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 personal control of the 20, you know what, my guess is this movement will take all the robust, heart-filled, Richard the Lion-hearted sense of ourselves and of what we can do, whatever that is, and it's going to transform that into, hell yeah, I control the crap out of this, get the, I am doing, and I think there's going to be some blow-ups because 21 in our current world, our nine centered world, still not used to it, living out the old seven centered way, is going, is going to get pissed. 21 gets pissed. You know, the warrior may get pissed and do stuff and stuff, but it still is, you know, it's just gonna, it's individual, it'll strike out on its own.
Mm-hmm.
21's gonna get pissed, you know. This place is a mess.
And like,
26, yeah, the ego 26 says this place is a mess, but I'm gonna go out and sell something. 40 says this place is a mess. I'm gonna go out and keep working. You mind fixing it up and feeding me while you're at it? And 21, just this place is a mess. Fix it now. 21's gonna say fix it now. That's what we're gonna move into. Fix that shit now. And because the south node, sort of junior in a way, when you look at the two nodes together, is feeding into the north node. Look at it like a flow from one into the other. A large expression of it will be this 21. Ergo, 48 is going to keep saying, I want my solutions. And it's looking at gate 16 saying, you know, I want to be enthusiastic about that. I want to, there's going to be a not self theme of I enthusiastically want to do this. And there's going to be a true self theme of also I enthusiastically want to do this, because 48's pointing at 16.
yeah.
So I enthusiastically am in control of this, and I'm enthusiastically pissed at this thing right now. I just left finding purpose. We haven't gotten to purpose yet. It's not so far back in my history that I forgot. So this is some fire brewing right here. I mean, I don't know if everyone's noticed, but the world itself has been on fire for the last 5 months, hardcore. We were already seeing it beforehand, but you know, constant war, new war. Now let you see the discussions going on ever since that invasion, and you know, over in the Middle East.
The shock and the fear.
Shock and thunder, baby. That's
Yeah.
what they know. And so I predict we're going to see world controllers get really pissed and try and control it in what'll end up being predictable ways.
It's interesting too, right? Because it's like I can see it on that like world leaders trying to take some control, and then I can also like, okay, and then like at the smaller scale and community and different people saying, hey, no, this is enough. And almost like maybe a battle of the wills, or certain people stepping into some like sense of empowerment for their families, for their communities.
Yes, let's put it in the making of a garden, because we're right at that season, right? So, and we're going to take, you know, a mom and a dad, let's say, archetype, and two roommates would be good. Let's do two roommates. Never mind the gender; it doesn't matter. They're gonna, hey, let's make a garden. Yeah, let's make the garden. 51 and 57 were great. Let's leap. I'll go to the store. I'll go with you. Let's spend more than we need to spend. I see it. I see it now. Can you envision it? And they're making their garden. Their garden is assuaging their sadness about tomorrow. They'll be able to eat the food, and they'll stay busy. And let's pretend they're generated mostly, or they're in a generated world regardless. So they're generating all of this, and it's coming out, and it feels purposeful. And whatever complaints about the actual layout of the garden and how it all truly is might be a little more warrior-like cooperative, you know, that's going to shift a little. That same garden making now, if it's not fully laid out, it's going to start to show up in, well, I really think it should go this way. No,
Okay,
but
yeah,
I
that's
wanted it to go
interesting.
that way. No, I don't want as many. I don't eat tomatoes, but I want watermelons. We don't have room for watermelons. You know, I can see some of that stuff, or if it's working right, it'll be a grand, powerful cooperation, because the ego does things, right? The
Mm-hmm.
ego does the work. The ego is the will,
Make stuff happen.
makes it
And
happen.
rally. The ego and the will can rally. If you like
Rally.
rile us up and there's like a good purpose, it's like, all right, we can make some stuff happen.
Yeah, the 26 may rally the forces. The 21 charges them in, and the 51 will charge them in. The 21 says you're going there. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you know, do that. So yeah, yep. So that itself will be interesting. How does that show up during the change? So we're looking at these minutes. Let's advise people of what we're doing. So you either sit with yourself while you're waiting for this nodal change at this time, or you be out in a crowd, but you still be with yourself, so you can be present to your sense of yourself. And at this is all Eastern Standard Time, so convert it to your time. At that time, the nodes will change at 5:33 p.m. We somewhere between the minute of 5:33 and 5:44. Did I write that the right time? Yeah,
5:33 to
5:34.
5:34. Yeah.
Yeah, PM. Somewhere in that minute, you'll just get present and watch, and you're looking to sense that the changes, that something is shifting.
Mm-hmm.
It's and you know what, with 51 being a great intuition that is like just sort of penetratingly aware, if you're if you allow yourself to just be still with yourself, chances are you'll go, like Moana was saying on one of the slides, just you can envision, sort of like envision something and just get yourself still, and suddenly at that moment you'll notice 51 and 57 leaving. There'll be a sense of a loss, because even if it was a fear of tomorrow, 57 is juicy. It's aware. It's awake. It sees. It hears. I mean, that's powerful. And so you might feel a sense of a loss of a certain power,
Mm.
because 51 is a careless power.
Yeah.
I leap. I'm in the individual circuitry. It's not my choice. It's in the
Jump.
moment. Jump. Yeah, jump. And in the moment,
Yeah, yeah.
and I feel empowered, and I'm empowering others, all that stuff. 21's got a lot more responsibility. 51
Mm.
can be carefree. It's just whatever. I did so to leap. Yeah, it was my choice. Now I'm dead. Now you can't control me at all. 21's got a lot of responsibility. Think of the weight on its
Mhm.
shoulders. If the tribe fails, they don't blame 51 or 40. 40 was doing the work. That's
Yeah,
what
yeah.
it'll say. 26 will say, hey, I hunted a bunch of stuff. 51 will say, I figured stuff out too. 21's like, you're in charge.
Yeah, that's
It's,
dad.
just, it's your fault.
That's
Buck
mom and
ends,
dad. That's king and queen.
yeah, the buck ends with you. And so, but you should feel a sense of moving into, I hate to say it, a sense of a frustration about the solutions that make better tomorrow.
Mm.
And it might not be extreme, but just recognize, as you start to, the world attempts to go through its, all the planets that are here and everything that's happening at the time, as it attempts to go through this, it's going to feel the solution oriented almost frustration, because it's projected channel, projected gate, that 48. And so don't underestimate the potential profundity of feelings of bitterness,
Mhm.
of what the hell, you're not, I'm in control of this and no one's listening. I can't get this done. No one's helping me. I'm not having the cooperation. Try to tell 21 I will not cooperate. Uh-uh.
Yeah, no.
Right?
It's
No,
like you will submit to the 21.
yeah, go to your room. That's how you'll not cooperate,
Oh, yeah.
type thing. You can tell 50, you can tell the other gates of the spleen that, and they'll have their own reaction. But 21's going to have that's no good. Try and tell 48 you're not going to cooperate. No sweat. I can tell 48 I won't cooperate all day long. Nah, 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 nah. It's got no motor. Can't do anything.
I can just be bitter in the
Yeah,
corner.
just be bitter, because so you'll be, picture that vibration going through a whole world.
Oh, that's very interesting.
And it's a little scary given everything that's going on right now. This is the energy pouring in. It's genetic. There is no choice. So
Yeah,
if
so why
this
be
is,
scared? Like, it is what it
I'm
is.
with you. Yeah, I'm with you. And
Like,
you're
you just gotta
biased
ride
too.
it. Like
Yeah, just for full disclosure, the co-host is biased. The channel in her body graph is already 5125. And I'm biased too. I have a 25 in my body graph. Anyway,
yeah, it's
that
just
was all for fun.
it's that the no choice thing. It's just like we're going
No
through it.
choice.
Where we
Yeah.
are just doing this. We are on this planet shooting through the cosmos around a fusion bomb. Like it just is. Like that is just the reality of it. And it's like, yeah, there could be that initial, oh no, a little bit of anxiety or a little bit of fear. But like I've been really shifting into like feeling that fear, anxiety. And it's like that just means I'm gonna learn something new. I can't
Let
change
it
it. I can't do anything. All I can do is go, well, it's weird, and what can I learn, how can I move through it? And like that's why I love human design, because it's like, okay, the energy is just weird. Okay, what is it? And how, like, I think it's really interesting too that we're moving from to splenic gate, like a splenic gate and a will gate, to a splenic gate and a will gate. Like that's really interesting. And then your breakdown of that, of like feeling the nuances and that difference between the 57 and that 48, and the differences between the 51 and the 21. Like I think that's really fun.
it's really powerful, because the 51 does not have that same frustration or bitterness. It just waits on the pulse. It's got fear. Don't get me wrong, they all have that. Um, the fear is inadequacy in the 48.
Mm-hmm.
The fear of
Not having
tomorrow,
a deep enough solutions.
right, and not being good enough generally.
Yeah, yeah.
And given the fact that most 48s will exist just by virtue of the numbers, most 48s will exist in an open ego being.
Mm-hmm.
That's a feeling of the could not only not having the right solutions, not having the right answers, not being good enough, not being worthy, trying to not compete when you think you should, and trying to compete when you know you shouldn't. It's a terrible head trip in that the open ego is one of the greatest conditioners on this planet, period. It conditions everyone to not think they're worthy, not think they're good enough, not know that they don't need to know, that they already are by virtue of they're endowed with it at birth. But yeah, so I am concerned about turbulent times coming up, and I'm also really hopeful because I've watched this beautiful shift in humanity to wake up, to just say exactly what you just said. You and I are really demonstrating the difference. I'm almost 60, you're, I forgot, not,
36.
yeah, you're not that.
No.
So, right, right, exactly. So, young people of this planet, just please keep all the love in your heart, like we keep seeing all over the place to do. And
Mm,
older folks on the planet, don't get all flipping crotchety. Hold your ground and know dang well that we are waking up. This old way, this movement, these nodes at this time and space is the perfect place to shake loose and shake free from past conditioning and that old way, of trying to control everything. Maybe 21 will wake up enough to recognize I am in control. That doesn't mean I have to control everything. The wisdom of control. Everyone loved it. Like, again, movies do this so well. They animate and tell us the story, that the stuff that we would come out of our imagination.
mhm,
And, everyone loves the wise leader that's absolutely in control and chooses not to control everything.
mhm.
They love that guy or that
Oh, yeah.
gal,
Well,
you
that's like,
know.
I mean, they're pulling on these archetypes, right? Like the human design chart, like we can look at this and understand these expressions of core human archetypes, right? And
They're
like,
there,
yeah,
yeah.
they're just there. It's in our wiring. It's just like how we're built. And so like when a good movie is made that's pulling on these archetypes, like that's what makes things relatable. It's just like, hey, this is in our wiring and they're touching at something. And that's why we can understand it. That's why we can relate it. That's why we can go on these journeys through stories, through movies to play with that and understand it and like move forward together.
It's so true. And I can't wait to see what happens because these nodes that we're still in is rather carefree in a certain way because it's
Mm,
so uniquely individual. Everyone's doing it for themselves in cooperation, I guess, with others, but it's a unique process. This next process is the opposite of that individual because it is not individual. Part of
yeah.
it is shared, and now that's a movement. So all of humanity is in a motion now to open their mouth basically and share something, you know, their ideas and their things and their opinions about stuff. And 21 is just more fire, it's so we're moving from something that's a little more carefree and innocent.
Mm,
The individual circuitry is by nature innocent because it doesn't know until the pulse comes.
mm,
It will act contrived and not be so innocent at times, but the 48 and the 21, they're not individual circuits. So that carefreeness and that certain type of innocence, the innocence of humanity I've seen in the last 5 months has said, we're just going to make this light always wins over darkness. Perfect phrase for a warrior penetrating the now to say, right? What does that same warrior, which still is there, say when the nodes are 48 and 21? They don't quite say the same carefree thing. They say, what? The light is, the light's going to win, but we have to plan and control all of that.
we have to step up.
Yeah.
We need to
51
step
was
up and
stepping up. Yeah, 51 sort of like stepping up. Hey, I'm stepping up. Stepping up in our attitude and our way, and I am
yeah.
leaping. The leap came in all the whistleblowers. If you look back over the
Oh,
last
yeah.
5 months, we have
Oh, there
more
have been a ton.
ton of whistleblowers. Where,
Yeah, yeah,
where
yeah.
were they? Where were they last year? Where were they?
Very interesting.
yeah, we've had a whole 100 years of history that there could have been whistleblowers, but in the past 5 months, we've had pro rata share way disproportionately more. So
Mhm.
what is that? Well, that's this is what that is. So
The
now
fear of, hey, what's out there? I'm gonna jump in and
I'm
try
leaping in.
to
I
let
can't
people
listen.
know.
I can't hear it anymore. I can't not idly stand by.
At that
Just
eye level, that warrior individual level. That's
yes.
interesting.
What was it? I forgot the movie, but it's "I will not go quietly into the night." I'm not doing it, not this time. And there's been all kinds of that, lots
Mm,
of it. And now all the work that got done from that, it needs to be organized in a tribal fashion that supports the movement of humanity's solution towards getting towards a more communal way, away from this draconian, money control
mhm,
and
mhm,
mind control and industry control and mental control and physical
yeah,
control, all
mhm.
of it.
That
So,
makes a lot of sense.
but still, how do we see that? Like, how I want people to have, if they can, to have as much
Mhm.
description of what might happen in between the minute of 5:33 and 5:34 on, May 10th. What day of the week is that, I
It's a
wonder?
Friday. I just looked it up.
Friday, May
It's
10th.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so okay,
So,
so I have an idea.
shoot.
So that what I was thinking is, especially people maybe who have like an undefined will, since it's going to be the majority of people, is maybe feeling that shift from the 51 to the 21, from that individual jumping into the unknown, individual warrior side. If they can maybe feel a shift into, oh,
More
okay,
responsibility,
responsibility and like being
right?
the king or the queen, the one who's taking charge of like, hey, this will not stand, and we gotta step up.
So even though Xena and Wonder Woman are the warrior, Xena and Wonder Woman are still showing up in 21 because they just left it. The things that we need to be more responsible over and find the solutions towards to share are, I mean, they were just yesterday. That's
Mhm.
the sense that the new nodes will have of the nodes right before it. Um, so they'll still leap, is my guess.
But in
They'll
a
still keep
working
leaping.
together kind of way. I feel like the
Yes,
51 is like Xena's going out on her own to like start some stuff and like go
yes,
handle something. But then shifting into the 21 is going to be more in that like maybe a queen type of archetype role, right? And like working with that analogy of like, okay, now we're actually like working with together and the tribe and making sure that we have what we need and we're distributing that and like in a collective way, like from going out on your own to like, okay, somebody's got to like take charge and like be the king or the queen, the leader of the group.
absolutely. And no less leaping, more, more. Oh, because the logical circuitry is looking into tomorrow, um, that will be and it goes through this one's
More
going through the sleep.
calculated.
Calculated, thank you. Much more calculated, reasoned, thought out, reasoned and calculated. That just gives me a great deal of hope because there is a great deal of leaping that really should take place before the rest of this centralized digital currency takes hold. That's a thing trying to take hold, and um, it's already taken hold in a few places. So I have a feeling between that, farms, people's sense of freedom and liberty, these things are going to cause some incredible motion in the world. And I invite everyone to watch how it becomes more solution oriented as we move on.
Mm.
And in your own families, Moni, you probably have something to say to that. Your own. I'm all alone over here, so I can't speak to it anymore.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's
Yeah,
just
it's
Dan.
it's very interesting. Like it's really interesting to like tune through that of like it's almost like no, we're gonna like stop with this controlling. You're not gonna control me, you're not gonna control my family, you're not gonna control my tribe, my people, whatever group. And then with that solution oriented. It's very interesting that those are paired together. It's very, very interesting.
Isn't it just so the wheel? Oh,
It's so
the wheel.
beautiful.
It is so beautiful. It takes us. It's a story. The
It's
wheel
so
tells a
cool.
story all the way through. It's an evolutionary story. You know, in our evolutionary past and in our evolutionary studies that you see in colleges and professors and all, they're always looking for the missing link, right? Or, what's the most recent one? Rosie or some chimpanzee or something
Oh
that
yeah,
they
yeah,
found.
yeah.
I forgot what her name is. It's adorable stuff that we do with
Yeah.
humans. You know, we're always measuring. It's
Lucy.
beautiful.
Lucy.
Lucy, yeah.
Yeah.
So you know, we're always trying to get that. It never answers all the questions. There is no missing link. We evolve, at least us nine-centered beings and other creatures, because they're all part of the same neutrino feed in the same solar cell. We evolve also by virtue of the movement of the sun, the movement, our movement in the solar system around the sun with the nodes. So our movement, you know, told by the wheel. So we're both. You know, we're evolutionarily we'll grow things because of adaptation, and suddenly we've adapted enough. Now the movement of the wheel comes along. It's like, okay, mutative genetic shift. Here you go. You're different. What, you didn't notice? Did you blink? You missed it. You know. um, so it's like passing through the smallest town in the world. You know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But it's constantly shifting. Like we're constantly in that mode. We're never at a place of stillness. Like the energy is always moving. The planets are always moving. There's always something shifting and changing. And just like watching the lines of the moon change.
Yeah.
Just it's
Yep.
it's always like that, like a beautiful like clock. And everything within the system. It's like there's like the checks and balances within our energetic charts of like divinely programmed.
Oh, something else is going to happen here too. Look at we do have to take in account the sun earths and just basically this. So at this moment, because this becomes a very important thing, so at this moment of change,
Oh,
these are the children being born. These are the children being born at
mhm.
that moment. However many millions of babies come in this moment, these, let's say, this 10-minute period on either side, those are the, you know, or even the day on either side, this is marks a part of the generation being born.
Mhm.
Notice the arrows change. We shift into an open rightness, or excuse me, is that right? Into a strategicness?
I think the arrows are the bottom right arrow is different. I think is the only one.
Yes. So our
The view
view turn
perspective is changing from left to right.
right. So we had a strategically left facing view that was sharp, honed in 51, 57. Sort of this is the final imprint of it. Moving that wasn't that way through the whole series of the note of 51, you
No,
know,
but just
all
the final
just
moment.
the final moment. This was the going out moment. And coming in, suddenly there's a shift. I find that interesting that this shift happens at the same moment.
That's absolutely fascinating. That's a really good catch.
Yeah, so we're already right-minded at this moment. We're already, you know, half 50-50 right and left, and now the arrows are moving mostly all right. Is there any leftness?
The top
Yeah,
left arrow is
the
left.
brain
Yeah,
system. So,
brain.
oh my God, so that's going to be so we're still strategic, active brain pulling in the data, but now we've turned even our whole personality side is just open receptive.
Mhm.
So I always look at that like letting the God light in, you know, that open receptivity, it allows the God light to come in. And I hope that fills our beating hearts in such a way that we end up seeing that which humanity is supposed to be towards. So we're not supposed to be struggling on this material plane. We're not. We're supposed to skate through this like a cool kid on skateboard Sunday, you know? It's this is supposed to be easy, like literally.
Mhm.
Um, so I hope that that light shines through in that way. I can have serious hopes. Um, I can't see the chart. Where's the so 23? Oh, this is so funny.
23,
So the
43.
shift, yeah, so the shift happens during the cross of explanation, you know. So so we got something. So definitely tune in on this moment and then start talking, because whatever comes out is going to be some incredibly important thing if we're lucky. That means that we'll be explaining this. Oh, I can't wait to tune in. So we need to tune into the whole news cycle that is 5 days before this and then 5 days after. Just tune in the week before. So if it's Friday, but if by Sunday night, get tuned into something that is a feed coming in, and watch how it will have a trajectory in, down, and then back out another way. You should see a dip like a V in the center, and it comes right back out the other way. Um, on either side of this, because we're going to be explaining Mad Men. and look at the gates that are in there as well. Those are unconscious, so they're not really part of the nodes. But what else is there?
Yeah, just to for anyone in the audience, we're only looking at the numbers on the right side that are in black, because those are the actual moment of the chart. Reads it as if like somebody was born at this moment. So they're showing us both the red and the black, but we're only looking at the black numbers.
Because the black is where the planets are now at that time. Ergo, that energy is in the world and in you, period, until it moves. So, can you feel like rattling down the gates?
Yeah. Do you want the lines as well?
No, well, sure, you can rattle off the lines, but just
Sure.
the planets, like the moon was 12.5.
Yeah, so the sun is 23.2, the earth is 43.2, the moon is 12.5, the nodes 21 and 48, both in the sixth
Let's
line.
stop right there for a second. So, so what we can count on at this moment in time. So, by the way, you can look at this like we're reading the weather. This is a weather report, humanity's neutrino weather forecast. I mean, it truly is that, quite literally. So second line, the calling, right? This is this calling, the natural it doesn't even know. So the natural is going to be here on both sides of this, being called in beautiful harmony to 5, that fifth line in the moon, gate 12, moon. So we'll be driven to say, yes, I can right now. I can whatever I'm naturally explaining. So there's going to be a movement to drive us and give us a sense of a focus and drive, which is what the moon gives us towards all of this, to explain it and articulate it to gate 12. Articulation. I can articulate. I feel like articulating. I am articulating. That's what it will do. What's our communication over there?
So Mercury is 42.5. So that gate of completion.
So 0.5 and Mercury Mercury moves that up. So it'll take a couple of days. So we easily have a couple of days of Mercury on either side of this. So we can count on that completion. This comes together to a big soup. We're moving out of 51, 57, which was a little less, a little more whimsical and innocent, moving into that where it recognizes, because again, projector channel, what do projectors do? You guys recognize shit. That's what you do. So I recognize what I need to control. That's a valid keynote for that. And 41 is going to want to complete all that. This thing will be indelibly marked. This shift will be indelibly marked with the need to complete this, to see it through. And 42 comes out of the sacral, so it sustains. So even if there is no willpower, I have a great deal of hope that there will be a great deal of the sense of willpower, because the sacral is going to sustain at completing that.
Yeah, more sustainable willpower.
Just sustainable. I must sustain at this. I know I can. I will keep, and I'm going to share that sustaining. So I have hope that I will share all this. And the last thing I can think to say on it is the indelible mark of all of that. What line was that 42 in?
42.5.
Point again. So this is all in total resonance with each other, resonance and harmony. So the fives are, so this is a universalizing force. So the universalizing, communicative, universal. Ra was a 5-1, the trumpeter. Always look at the fifth line like the potential general, the trumpeter that's going to say the stuff. And so the communication of needing to complete this stuff will trumpet out what it feels like the calling and what we can logically, what we can intuitively, because that's what will be happening. Our intuitive explanation will come out. And so I can see this all coming together and this doing what being universalized out of the fifth line communication will be what all second lines harmonize with and resonate to and really ring with. They're all aligned to this motivation that we call hope. Every second line knows what it's like to be hopeful. And because of that, hopefulness is always in the world. In fact, it was keynoted and headlined in the Matrix movie. The quintessential greatest power and biggest weakness of humankind, hope. Yeah, until it smashed that old guy in the face and broke his dang Matrix. Did I break your toy? So
and that, like, the balance with the 2 and the 5, right? That 2 is hoping, and that 5 is like, I'm gonna fix that. I'm
I'm
going to
going to
get it
fix.
done.
Yes,
How do
I'm
I
going to
fix
do
it?
it.
And that
Because I
relationship.
don't want to just hope, but the hope is driving me because I hope.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
you know
yeah.
what? I'm going to
It's a
explain it.
dance.
What I'm going to explain what the warrior just figured out in the now, and now we're going to take some responsibility and do something about it. That's wow. That's indelibly marked into this nodal shift. I love this.
Hmm.
We're giving the nodal shift its tattoo marks. We're
I
inking
love
it
this.
up with the planets.
Yeah, yeah,
This is
yeah.
exciting.
This is really fun. Do you want to go to Venus?
We'll do Venus, Mars, and Jupiter.
Cool. Cool. So Venus is 2.1 and it's fixed in the upward expression of two line one. So what do you got about that?
We'll read all three of them.
Oh, sorry. I thought we were going one at a time.
Yep.
So Venus exalted 2.1, Mars on the detriment arrow 17.5, and then
Go.
and then Jupiter is 8.3.
8.3. So Jupiter so far stands out more than any of them as not resonating quite.
Because the three.
Yep, because of the three. It will resonate to the nodal shift because the nodal shift's moving into a sixth line, but harmonize with. But so 2.1, what does 2 say? 2 says, give me beauty now. I mean, it's always pushing a direction. It is the home of the monopole. So give me beauty now, literally quickly, because 14 is its other side. And 14 is this great power to do the work and bring the abundant stuff of the sustained, finding the right direction to do the work. It's like the gas pedal.
Yeah. So the
It's like the motor.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Sorry.
No, I interrupted.
2.1, well,
2.1,
2.1 says money isn't everything.
but it's cute. It's higher knowing through aesthetics.
Yes.
The importance of aesthetics, whether inborn or acquired, sensitivity to disharmony and atrophy. So, like, I just think that's really beautiful.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And it has this sense that money isn't everything, which everything about this time in our lives is about the decay of the money systems anyways, and the breaking of it because of all the world's debt. We never heard people say the word debt as much as you heard people say that word in our
Mhm.
this, you know. And then you got the fifth line of Venus. So the first line, excuse me, Venus is basically the principles and the morals that are being established here. The moral code is going to be communicated by its Mercury to say, quit making it ugly, make it pretty.
And the return to noticing and appreciating beauty and truth and goodness and like a higher
Much
order
higher.
to the world. There's a higher order to the world when we recognize beauty and honor it and appreciate it because it gives us that wow, what humans can do and what the world is capable of, what the universe is capable and what we can strive to in that ideal. That's very interesting.
That's really the movement of humanity. We're supposed to be in that place already. I mean, we have the vehicles, we have what it takes to be in that place. We're just not there yet. And so Mars was in 17.5.
Mars is 17.5 and it's fixed in the down arrow. The
Oh God,
pos-
that's so funny.
it's the possibility of opinions that refuse to see the value of being organized. But that's very interesting too, because it even works with the control aspect of the 21 of like, no, I'm not going along with this. Just because it's like the down arrow doesn't mean it's like a negative thing. It's just fixed in that
Obviously, yeah.
position. It's just fixed in that position of just like, no, the possibility of opinions that refuse to see the value of being organized. You're not just going to organize me in with everyone else. I'm going to say no. The 21 is going to say no. And then the 48 is like, okay, let's create some better solutions.
Dude, that's such a beautiful analysis of that. That's
Yeah.
perfect, Moni. Yeah, actually, I don't need to add anything to that
It
whatsoever.
just came through really powerfully.
That's how this stuff goes. Like, you'll be a powerful reader. You will.
Thanks.
If you're not already. So the other thing about Mars is a juvenile energy. Everyone's got a Mars in your body graph. Everyone's got a little juvenile in them.
Oh yeah.
An immature energy that can be pleasant and adorable and innocent on one end and cruel as hell on another. It's immature and stupid and wicked, divinely like insightful. All these things that
And it's
immaturity can bring us.
necessary. Yeah,
That's what we
sometimes
need
you
it.
can be annoyed at that immature Mars energy, and sometimes you just need like that immature little boy energy to just do something that's like, oh wait, yeah, let's remember what that is because that's important too. Like we don't never need everyone to be the crotchety old man. You need the young, young buck.
We need that. We need that. It's wicked important. And another thing then, just about 17 in its collective understanding circuitry, 17, because it's an awareness center coming off the ajna, again, its sense of bitterness and it being in a fixed position like you just read off, it can get really pissy. And in a not self way, this thing can literally just turn up seethingly bitter and late. 17 loses track of time.
Oh, that's fascinating.
It is fascinating because that's not its shtick. 17 and 11 lose track of time. That's how lost in the conceptual plane they are.
Oh, no shit.
Because that's where they are. 23 doesn't lose track. 43 doesn't lose track of time the same way. But these two gates, 17
because
especially, they can be petty, and 17 especially because it is about that logic part. At least the ideas on of peace on gate 11 don't really end up petty because they're just ideas.
I just got ideas. Yeah, I have
got ideas. But 17's like, I got to come with the goods. I got to prove it.
I have a hypothesis.
I have an hypothesis. What do you mean my hypothesis isn't any good? So let's, it can get bitter quickly, just like 48. 17 and 48 are in opposition to, no, not in opposition. 17 and 48, what are they to each other? They're something to each other. They're in the same circuitry. No, it's 17 and 18 that are in opposition. My bad.
Okay.
That puts it real close together because what 48 is doing is 48 is collecting all the things that make it be what its name is. The Chinese gave it the right name, the well.
The depth.
Yeah, the
and going over it and over it and deeper and deeper of that intuition and yeah.
Exactly, and this taste of things, it grows an incredible. It's got its specific tastes. If it's got champagne and caviar taste, then a trip to McDonald's isn't going to do, and vice versa. I don't like caviar. I don't even care for champagne. So 17 and 48. 48 is always collecting the drips of what needed to be corrected in 18. So 58 pours out the energy to correct. It's the fuel for it. 18 is the identification. Everything in the stream is about identification. 58 up to 16, identify what the solution is. And so it's 48 is always identifying what 18 is dripping into it like a drip on a faucet. So the older one gets, the more your well has been filled deep. The deeper your well goes to where you lose track of how deep it even goes. You can't even get to the bottom. It's so deep. You cannot get to the bottom of the depth of that incredible well. The Chinese named it well. I mean, they named it good. That's not proper English, but I couldn't say they named it well because
they named the well well.
Yeah, they named the well well. Yeah, that's so funny.
That's great.
And so lots of drips in that. It's getting it up. But the 48 being part of the movement will be more resonating with the 21, and the 17 is standing out there in a fifth line, universalizing the second line calling. Let's just hope the not self of that isn't just pounding down on the world, getting bitter, pissy, and saying, I quit. Think about it. You get too bitter at something. What do? You go home.
Yeah, you take your ball, you go home.
You take your ball and you go, or worse, you get angry and you blow everything up.
So no one gets to play with the ball.
No one gets to play with it at all, So let's hope we don't see, to the degree we see some of that, let's just hope that our human enlightenedness finds the right solution to control that a little bit in a shocking way.
Always. Do we want to? Yeah, the Jupiter. Yeah, Jupiter is 8.3, I believe. And so 8.3.
I love that. Yeah, no, the contribution of it all. Yeah, back to the individual circuitry.
Yeah. The acceptance.
Go ahead.
The acceptance of style and not the substance of communal actions. The perfected and rarely detected superficial intimacy. The example as an expression through style, not substance. And on the other side, it can be a shallowness that underestimates others and overestimates its own ability to continue its deception without detection, an over-reliance and unfounded confidence in style.
And that style is all as it relates to making a contribution.
Yes. So is it style or is it substance?
Well, and it'll end up being both.
Because
or
shallowness.
Right. But the shallowness just means I'm on the surface I don't know yet. So we
Mm.
have to go through that. I
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
know.
yeah, that's part of the process. You can't get to the deep waters unless you go through the shallow ones first.
Right. And since we just came off of 5157 that likes to leap into the deep water and has an ego warrior spirit, and we're moving into another more ego fire, I can totally envision this contribution of gate 8, fake it till you make it. That's what I hear in that. Well, what's the solution? I don't know, but we're on the move. You know, the warrior that echoes from days past says we're on the move, and we're still in the spleen, and the hunter wants to hunt. That's that name. The I Ching named 21 the Huntress, not just the Gate of Control. They had a more practical name for it because it is on the move. So
Mm.
yeah, so read the heading for Gate 8 generally, and its little subheading.
Yeah.
Subheading.
So gate 8, holding together,
Mm.
contribution. The basic worth realized in contributing individual efforts to group goals.
It sounds collective, doesn't it?
It does, but it's that individual side. It's that
The
purely individual side, but for that greater collective goal and that purpose and the direction ultimately of the G.
Absolutely, and what's 8 is speaking out its uniqueness of it's speaking out and contributing what? Gate 1, the
That pure
polarity.
individual self.
Yes, gate 1 comes out of the home of the monopole, opposite gate 2. So gate 8 is going to severely try and contribute the creative greatness of what will be an aesthetic beauty, which in real human terms is, can we please all get along and stop trying to control everything? I
Mm.
think the awakened and this human enlightenment that's happening, awakening is, and the shift, this energetic shift we're all going into is literally, this nodal shift gives us the opportunity to basically solidify and place this contribution towards what gate 2 demands, the movement towards beauty, towards what the G center is all about, love and direction. It's this is our identity. This is our, our love of ourself. What was and Jupiter makes this is the law. This is the
Mm-hmm.
law. This is the law. So it's all harmonizing and vibrating in this really cool story. And what was so what's the next one? Saturn.
Saturn, are we going to Saturn? So Saturn is 22.1 fixed in the up arrow.
Oh, I love it. 22-1 Grace. And isn't this
Oh, yay.
second class seat, willing to take a back seat? Isn't that
A
what 20?
second class ticket. Yeah, you got it. The
Uh-huh.
ability to accept and enjoy a subordinate position. The emotional awareness to enjoy a subordinate position.
This is good. And what's wrong with a subordinate position? Every parent knows what the hell that's like. Get a new puppy, you're subordinate. Puppy's in charge. Sorry. Same with Kitty. He's still in charge. I'm lucky he's figured out how to not bug me right now, thank God. Um,
Well, and
so it's a beautiful place and it's an emotional awareness.
yeah.
What do you think of that?
Well, it's fascinating, like, so gate 22, grace, openness, a quality of behavior best suited in handling mundane and trivial situations, and that emotional awareness to just handle the mundane stuff, and it's like it's fine. I can take that second class ticket. We're good. I don't need to be in charge of this.
What else
So
is not the gate of the is not also listening?
yeah, yeah, 12 is that with 12 and 22? Because the 12 is like speaking or not.
No, just 22. I thought 22 doesn't it have listening in its.
Let me check the other page.
No. If you're on the page with it, just stay there. It's right at the top. You read it.
Yeah,
Grace. That's what I
yeah,
meant
it
to
was
say. The gate
grace.
of, that was great. So the grace is the reason it said best suited for trivial and mundane things is because that's where most of its work goes. Think about it. You keep things trivial and mundane, the emotional heat of the situation does what? Stays level. No reason to flare up, no reason to flare down. And this particular stream of awareness coming off of the root, going up through the solar plex, going to the throat, to ending at gate 12, this is a manifesting channel. It's an emotional stream of awareness. And tucked in the middle of it is this grace of a social being. So what I see here is the law that gets codified from what was Venus a moment ago is codified here in Jupiter, ultimately to become sort of, what got codified in, hey, let's not kill each other, got codified in Moses coming down saying, "Thou shalt not kill," one of the commandments. So it's the same thing here. It's
Hmm.
it's no different. So that which we just discussed in Venus gets codified in the emotional smoothness, the emotional power, because it's a motor, the emotional manifesting power to manifest the beauty of grace. And so we will be listening, even though there'll be a lot of chatter.
Hmm.
I
Yeah,
think we'll be able to hear. Yeah.
oh, absolutely. And with like the arrow fixed upwards, it says Gate 22 combines the potential for emotional openness through listening with a social grace and charm that is highly attractive to others when it is in the right mood.
Oh, about the right mood. So if the spirit feels full, because humanity's always chasing the spirit of itself. And so when the spirit feels full, and 21 and 48 are moving towards a solution that 51 and 57 kick-started in the first place with 10,001 whistleblowers, um, that's a lot of motion. And if I can go ahead and hope for a moment, I put out there as my deepest, sincerest wishes we do so with grace. Grace and providence are these are godlike qualities. The gods are on our side with this chart, to say it that way.
Hmm.
So I love that. And by the way, this was Saturn, right?
No, yeah,
Sat
that was Saturn. Yes, correct, correct.
the judge. The judge will judge you harshly if you stand outside of the need for the grace of the moment to listen before you act. This is a great constraining gate in this moment in time. You better listen and get in the mood that this is what you heard and you heard it right before you act. Because you got gate 12 on the other end that's saying, yes, I can. That's its voice. I know I can if I'm in the mood, you know. So, and then after that should be Uranus, right?
Yeah, so 23.5 for Uranus, so another 23. And then,
Harmonized with its line two. Notice the
oh, that's
synchronicity of
interesting.
all this harmony, fives and twos.
Yeah, that's interesting. And even the knot, it was the threes and the sixes.
So what is Uranus? Do you remember? It's unusualness as a keynote.
Yeah, I know it's crazy things, shocking things, kind of just throwing the collective into some kind of unknown.
Stick
So
with unusualness. So it can be very known, but flesh out everything you can around the word. This is unusual. That was damn peculiar. It worked. I get it, but it was dang unusual. And so, however, I'm saying that might fit into what's coming up. Many of whatever this is will be unusual. What gate was it in? I forgot.
it's 23.5, which is assimilation, the practical acceptance of the values of another path.
Oh
The,
God, that is so five. Yes,
the
fifth
gift of
line.
the gift of communicating individual insight to the collective.
So what I'm hearing here is indelibly inked into this nodal shift by what's being imprinted at the time of the shift is this ability to universalize an explanation towards the grace of what needs to be heard in the now, and then we need to build solutions around. We're going to hear what we need to build our solutions around, and 21 will make sure they get built because 21 can also be a slave driver if need be. So we'll be working.
Gotta get
Everyone
done.
back, get the hell back up, back to work, everyone. That's what's going to happen with 21.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. And then it's very interesting too. I was just watching a video on this of Neptune returning to 25, which it hasn't been in. Like the last people who would have Neptune in 25 died probably before World War II. So that we're returning to this time of innocence.
The spirit of the self.
Yeah.
So is that where Neptune is?
Yeah, 25.2. I kind of jumped. I felt good with
No,
Uranus
we're
and kind
good.
of
Yeah,
jumped
we're
right
good.
into
Yeah, we're
Neptune with the
just some
25.2.
unusualness. Yeah. So
Yeah, the devotion and dedication to the now. The innocence of the self and its protection can only be maintained in the now.
I'm going to ask you to read that again in a second,
Sorry,
just because 23. The last thing
sorry,
something
sorry.
occurred to me with 23, the unusualness.
Yeah.
So during this shift, in these few minutes, hunt around your favorite feed. Whatever went viral will be unique and unusual as hell, and it'll come with a fantastic explanation. I don't know what that looks like. I'm forecasting.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, this is called the neutrino weather forecast.
yeah, yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. I
No,
was
no, we were just kind of, I think we both got really excited. So I think we both
yeah.
mutually did it.
So, what I already forgot. It was what gate was?
Neptune 25, which is innocence, the spirit of the self. And then it's in line 2, which is the existentialist,
Mm,
devotion and dedication to the now.
that's what beauty does. It devotes it till now, and 25 being this gate of read the heading for the actual gate itself.
Gate 25, innocence, the spirit of the self, the perfection of action through
Uncontrived. Yep.
uncontrived and spontaneous nature. I got there.
Yep. What is that describing? A child?
Is that pure innocence, right?
It's describing a child. They're
Yeah.
not contrived. They don't make stuff up. They just do. It's
Mhm.
spontaneous. Like our animals are just spontaneous. Um, yeah. So this is the veiled part. When this is what you don't really get to see, what's behind Neptune, right? It's just veiled. What you have to do is read your gate and recognize that, just trust that that's the case. This is where people get into lots of trouble because they can't bear to simply trust it sight unseen. They have to try and know more. So anybody looking deeply into their Neptune, go crazy for a little while. Just make sure you come back because it will drive you insane. Because you can't get really at it. So our innocence, the innocence of the warrior. So this is beautiful because coming off of gate 51, which was just there, the shock absorber of the innocence and the uncontrived self. Innocence is a shock absorber. When you're innocent, you absorb the shock. That's just a thing because you're not thinking about anything else. So we can just trust that this veil, this little cloak that our little secret superpower is hiding behind. One of our superpowers is behind door number 3 over there. We don't get to see what it is, and we don't really get it. Just trust that it's there. The innocence of the self is part of that warrior spirit. Its polarity is the 51 that we just left. So in this moment, indelibly inked is this 25's innocence. Just trust it, and it will lead us to the truth. Pluto's next.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So Pluto is 41.1, that's also interesting because that's start codon.
Oh my God, this is a start of something new. Oh,
Yeah.
that's right. This Pluto is part of our birthday, our United States of America birthday. This was earlier. This was
Yeah, because we're in the return.
yeah. This only happened within the last 5 or 6 months, as I recall.
Yeah.
So we're just saddling into this whole thing. It's still in a first line.
Yeah. Isn't
That's
that
how slow
fascinating?
that's how slow Pluto moves.
Yeah. So 41, decrease, contraction, the
Mm.
limitation of resources, which maximizes development of potential. And now we got to be
Yep.
creative.
Yep.
Should
Here,
I read?
so we'll read it in a second, but
Yeah.
think about what this does. So shared, collective, experiential, desire is part of its keynote. Um, Sexual in nature, obviously, as well as everything else, but it just wants to have the experience and maximizing resources through its limitation, in a sense. So, hey, kids, have some fun. Here's a stick and a nickel. Make some fun out of that. Okay. Watch what comes out of that.
Uh-huh.
So ask the child in you to live loud and clear during this time because it is apparently, according to the design of things, it is a child that will explain what the solution is. Out of the
Right.
innocence of the child, from behind the veil, this truth will be maximized. That's how I can read what we have coming. It's incredible. I love this. This is, I've never seen anything like this. I'm
This
getting
is,
goosebumps.
I know, it's so nice.
Wow. I never know what's going to come out. It's this is good.
Uh-huh. Well, and just letting a generator respond, and you got that 3420 like gathering together in the now.
Right, right,
Uh,
right. It's all fifth line, by the way. All that stuff
um,
is fifth line. Um,
mm,
the the 15, the 5, the 34, the 10, the 34, and the 20. It's all fifth line stuff.
should I read the first line for 41?
Oh, please, please. Yep.
So line 1, reasonableness, the appropriate delegation of responsibility, the imagination to make the very best out of very little, coolness, where the energy to release feelings is selective. And on the
And
flip side, okay.
that goes in line with gate 21's first line. They resonate. So this is good. So all of our potential emotional definition is in a foundational resonance with itself. So I can hope for some emotional smoothness, even though we know the world is an emotional powder keg.
Well,
But
everything's always happening. There's always going to be something going on.
yep. So yeah, I can envision that through the grace of 22. Yep.
Well, it's so beautiful. What a lovely,
Isn't
like,
it? Yeah, I mean these things are lining up in ways I never get to explain. In such a with such prettiness to it. You know what I mean? It's like it sounds good. Does that mean the movie has a happy ending? This was just sort of looking that way, type thing. Yeah, go ahead and read the other
the other
the
flip side of the line.
yep,
Uh,
the other expression.
yeah, a tendency in understanding to assume capability leading to strain. The hothead, the urge to release feelings.
Yep. So we're going to be waffling between these two things, and only in our reasonedness through 17 and 48, only in our control of watching how the grace does move and the beautiful contribution that is made through gate 8 and all of this, will we see when we become the hothead. And it doesn't mean don't become the hothead. It means witness it as it happens so you can temper it. Grace is looking to take a back seat for a moment to the larger picture, most of which is veiled behind gate 25. Because this innocence of the self it's been profoundly sitting there for a while. So this is our truth. This is the world's truth. This is the United States' truth. This is our individual truth, sort of collectively speaking. And it's collective and it wants to be shared. So we're going to share our accidental blow ups. Let it happen. You know what I mean? Brush it off. And then we're going to see the more reasoned version of that. I don't normally see much reasoned stuff inside of this experiential emotional stream of awareness. So foundation time. That's what this says. All back to the second lines of 23 and 43, built, imbued with help. So if I take it from the very beginning, the sun and the earth ground us and force in the grounding of what needs to be explained, what's going to be explained, winding up in the hopefulness basically imbued upon 41 and 25 in their line one, 41 in that line one, this reasonedness. So I can hope for that. I certainly do.
It's beautiful.
The whole this thing is gorgeous. We got a So, by the way, and at the same time, a lot of manifestor babies are going to come into the world in this at this point in time. So buckle up. We're going to have some impact going on. I often wonder if manifestors or even reflectors or projectors can sense when their type is being born into the world. Your mind isn't clogged with the generative buzz like us generators that don't sense a whole hell of a lot half the time. It's a curious notion. So we can look for a lot of contribution in this time. It's marked with it. And that's our forecast for the upcoming 4 months.
It's a good forecast. Thank you for sharing this with me. This is really fun.
This is a hell of a good episode, moving into these nodes. So people get out there during this time, and that's your minute. Don't blink. Don't focus too hard, okay? Because your unusualness will try to explain something it is not. Just be innocent and trust that that's what's there, and wait and see what you see. That's how to work it.
Perfect. All right.
Yay.
You feeling complete?
I'm feeling complete. How about you?
I'm feeling great.
Yeah, let's go back full screen. I guess we did the thing.
We did the thing.
Did we do the thing? We did the thing.
Yeah. Cool. So thank you, Danny, for sharing all of your knowledge. Thank you, Moana, for all of your efforts in making this happen. Thank you all.
Makes that happen.
Oh, she's amazing. All the everything and all her ideas are like perfect. Thank you to everyone watching. Thank you for sharing this experience with us. It's been really fun deep diving into the lunar nodes with you all, and we really appreciate you being here with us. We'll be taking a short break with no show next week, April 24th, and then we'll be back on May 1st at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 3:30 Central, with special guest Kip Winsett, a former student of Ra Uruhu. We'll see you in.
God.
Yeah, I know. I'm excited. We'll see you
Yep.
in two weeks when Moana will be back with a fun show and some special treats for us, and we'll see you then. Bye.
Love it. Thank you so much, everyone. Take care.